everyone and welcome to this video. I've always said Metalcore needs more EPs, and this year, for the first time, we finally got more EPs. So without further ado, let's just jump right in and talk about my top 10 favorite Metalcore EPs of the year. The first EP on this list is going to be P.U.L.S.E EP, Our Pulse Is Yours. P.U.L.S.E is a super fresh UK band, and this is their very first release, so it was quite a surprise to me just how good this EP turned out. They are massively influenced by P.U.L.S.E and also feature ex-P.U.L.S.E guitarist Connor on one of the tracks, who also mixed and mastered the whole thing. Like, this sounds so much like P.U.L.S.E, it's almost uncanny. I mean, listen to this. All in all, the EP turned out pretty great, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw P.U.L.S.E opening up for some major UK bands in the future. I'm in a head-on collision, burn past all recognition, breathing in broken dust, tears from the dark fill. You Won't Survive by Convictions was my 9th favorite EP of the year, and I'm actually quite surprised about that. They have been around for what feels like forever, and personally I could never really get into their music, but with this record they struck gold. The whole thing sounds exactly like I would have wished The Path by Fit for a King would have sounded like, with super heavy riffs, brutal vocals, insane breakdowns, and some pretty good emotional sung choruses. If you're a fan of Rage and Fit for a King and that kind of music, you should probably check this one out, because chances are it might be right up your alley. I really like Vision. I really like Vision. Hyperdaze was my favorite album of 2019, even above North Lane's Alien, which in itself is one of my absolute favorite records for all time. So naturally, the expectations for whatever they did next were quite high. And although these expectations weren't really matched and I definitely still prefer Hyperdaze, I can say I didn't really enjoy the Chronicles last EP they released. The EP sounds even more nu metal influenced than their previous sound, and gets rid of Hyperdaze's sharp, precise production in favor of a more rough and brutal sound. The riffs are groovy as fuck, and if there's one thing this band has on lock, it's breakdowns. All in all, even though I was kinda disappointed by this EP, it's still a great release, and I'm super stoked for what they got for us in the future. On the 7th place we have Rogue's EP Phantom, which is a release that I very eagerly awaited coming into the year. Rogue is one of the most promising progressive metalcore acts as of right now, and they absolutely delivered with this release. They have such a good feeling for big and atmospheric soundscapes, and really know how to integrate their more technical progressive elements into that. The choruses don't always do it for me, but the overall quality of their sound is just so high that I really couldn't care less. All in all, an absolute massive release that made me await their first full length even more. Two of the biggest trends in metalcore in 2020 and 2021 have been the fusion of metalcore and deathcore elements, as well as the inclusion of nu metal influences. And French band 1056 just said fuck it and combined both. Their combination of these two sounds works really well and results in one of the most promising and most experimental sounds in all of metalcore right now. Another element that makes this EP so outstanding is its dark lyrical content. The themes are super dark, super gritty, and vocalist Aaron does not mince his words at all. From what I understand, there's going to be a second part to this EP, and personally I just can't wait for more experimental music that needs trigger warnings from them. My 5th favorite EP of the year was Animate's The Sun Sleeps As If It Never Was. An EP that was released to celebrate them signing to UNFD, and what a celebration it was. The EP tries to showcase the theme of addiction through two different points of view. One time through the point of view of the addicted, and one time through the point of view of someone close to the addicted. Aside from the dark lyrical content, we also get peak Animate songwriting. Mind-blowing riffs, an abundance of atmosphere, and hauntingly beautiful clean choruses. The only reason this EP scores so low on my list is just its short length. A 2-song EP just has a hard time competing with some of the longer EPs on this list, but that doesn't mean it's not absolutely incredible. Some of you may have seen my video about my top 10 favorite metalcore albums of 2020, a video in which I talked about a band called Before I Turn, which I like quite a lot. This year, Before I Turn's vocalist announced his solo project and released his first Elder Scrolls themed EP, named The Dark Is So Familiar. I haven't played the game, so I really don't care about the lyrical themes, but the music itself is just really good. It sounds a lot like Before I Turn's latest record, but with the addition of absolutely insane atmospherical elements. The progressive riffs are absolutely amazing and the breakdowns go stupid hard. I had the EP on repeat for a huge part of the year, and I am seriously hyped where this project is going to head next. I mentioned the trend of combining elements of both metalcore and deathcore before, and one of the bands that has really cemented themselves as one of the leaders in that regard is Left to Suffer, whose EP On Death was my third favorite EP of the year. The EP aims to portray the 6 stages of grief: event, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and death instead of acceptance, which I personally think is a really cool theme. The whole thing goes stupid hard and has some really cool features with Ryo Kinoshita, Tom Barber, and Lochi Kyuk. I probably butchered that, I don't know. Personally, I think they could have integrated the different stages of grief a bit more into the actual music, which is a thing they only did with Death and the hospital beeping sample. But still, this EP is absolutely phenomenal, and if you haven't listened to it, go check it out right now. Many people, myself included, regard the Devil Wears Prada's first zombie EP as one of the best EPs metalcore's ever seen. So naturally, the expectations were sky high when they announced the coming of a second zombie EP. But there were also quite a lot of worries, as many people felt that Prada had long outgrown their heavier side, which was pretty much one of the key success factors of the first zombie EP. Well, Prada proved all these worries to be wrong and released what, dare I say it, might actually be the best work of their very long career. The EP combines elements of their heavier, earlier sound with their later, more mature and experimental sound perfectly, and every single song turned out to have its own unique identity. It does, I personally feel like, kinda lack the samples and atmospheric elements that made the first zombie EP really feel like a zombie EP, like this one for example.
Virus has completely devastated over 150 of the world's major regions and is spreading rapidly. At this point...
But the lyrics also do a pretty good job in portraying the post-apocalypse vibe. All in all, the EP turned out absolutely perfect and is definitely my favorite of their many releases. For me personally, all I need from them now is another space EP, and I can die happily.
A tear in the fabric of life.
Those of you who kept up with this year's releases will probably already have guessed it, but my favorite EP of the year was Knocked Loose's A Tear in the Fabric of Life. The EP is pretty much in a tier of its own and makes a good case for itself as the best metalcore EP of all time. Musically, as always with Knocked Loose releases, the EP is top notch, but they also managed to cement themselves as one of the best storytellers in the genre right now. In 6 songs, the EP tells the story of a young couple's car accident and the surviving lover's failure to cope with the death of his beloved significant other. Every song marks a different part of this narrative, and the whole release is honestly just filled to the brim with memorable and super emotional moments in lyrics. Just to give you an example, listen to this part of God Knows, in which the narrator is overwhelmed by feelings of guilt and sadness. It's just such a great part, and honestly the whole EP is full of things like this. And if that wasn't enough, they also delivered an animated short film for the whole EP that has some of the best visual storytelling I've ever seen. Like, not just in music videos, it actually is one of the best visual storytelling things I've ever seen in everything. It's so haunting and at the same time so incredibly beautiful that I won't even try to go into detail and describe it and just tell you, go check it out, listen to it right now, watch it right now. It's basically the best thing metalcore has ever seen when it comes to storytelling. that's it with the video, guys. Thank you for just listening to me rambling about different Metalcore EPs. If you want, just drop me your opinion on your personal list of Metalcore EPs in the comments below, and see you soon.